boy, here we go. I hope you guys are sitting down for this one and making sure you're not eating, because I do not want you to spit up your food. Maybe you already did when you saw 10th edition. So right now, anything that I talk about in regards to 10th edition coming out soon is rumor based. Part speculation, part people in the know, and part just simple basic math or logic. We know it's going to come, and we just don't know exactly when. So a fairly reliable source, and no offense, miss, but I'm going to put you at about the 60-65% range. Yes, I realize that that's a very abstract number, and I don't actually have a rating system, but like me, you get things wrong, and I get things wrong. I just got turned around all on my own, not taking time to research the most recent release of the Hulkbuster, Iron Man Hulkbuster, and the Miss Marvel set when I thought it was Miss Marvel and Juggernaut. And a very quick double check, even if I would have thought about it just for 5 minutes, would have realized that Hulkbuster Iron Man was in the lineup prior to Juggernaut. So I jumped the gun, didn't do my follow-up research. So I went ahead and did follow-up research on this video. So 10th edition is, of course, we know it's going to come out. Whether it's going to be called 10th edition, just like I was thinking whether they're going to call it 9th edition, or they're going to call it, I don't know, something else. Age of the Emperor, like they did with Age of Sigmar. Who knows? But we know it's going to come. There's just no way, unless Games Workshop, with all their very bad Warhammer TV shows and their business practices, their constant price increases, stealth increases, and manipulation of the game to where you have to buy more, but you're using less. I don't know how to explain it. Save that for another video. At some point, people are gonna get burnt out, but they have we're still looking at least a decade before they really start. I would say a decade before they get burnt out. They're gonna cap out at some point, and they're gonna have a misstep like Privateer Press did, and that's gonna be it. Because the tighter you hold on to those reins, like they do with their IP, and keep all a lot of in-house secrets about their business practices, the eventuality that somebody is going to leak it's inevitable. You just have to look at bigger, more important, or not more important, but wealthier, far-reaching companies like Disney and Warner Brothers, Marvel Comics, DC Comics. Well, I guess those are kind of parent-owned. There's an eventuality that Games Workshop, they're going to piss off the wrong person, and then we're going to see the dark and dirty secrets, and it's going to be a table flip moment. Now they're trying to, I think, do some pre-damage control, as they're finally now, after 30 plus years of being stealthily, which I think this is the correct way, mind you, to be inclusive. Female characters have always been a thing. That's not a new thing. I know some people have been like, oh, it's a female character, they got a female captain of a ship. You know what? There's been female main characters in books for decades, at least since the early 2000s. That's not a new thing. So ease up there and just realize that that's not what that is. Now starting to include more, say, female characters, and stop there. Even though I joke about the 2nd and the 11th Legion actually being female Space Marines, because let's face it, we know that they were, because there's a reason why the Space Marine Legions, their Space Marines can't be female, and they had to get to a point where they're like, ooh, this is a bad idea. You know what? Let's just quietly get rid of them. Nobody will know, and that's all fanfic lore, which I hate fanfic lore. But I digress. At any rate, Games Workshop has started to be a lot more inclusive, at least since Ninth Edition dropped. We've started to see Black Space Marines, which people are already up in arms about. They're like, oh, they all look like Gilliman. No, 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 no. No, no. It's only a few chapters take on traits similar to their Primarch. And that's usually it's induced or it's manufactured or I'm not sure how to say it. Like look at Alfarius and Omegon for the Alpha Legion. There's bound to be, with billions upon billions of people on a billion worlds or a million worlds, you're going to have mixed ethnicity, which in Warhammer 40,000 they don't give a damn about. They don't care what your race is, or your ethnicity is. They don't care what your gender is. They don't care what your sexuality. They don't care about your gosh darn identity box. They only care about war. Now, how does this all figure in? Into 10th edition, I'm getting there. So, at some point in time, GW's practices are going to bite them in the butt. So 10th edition, and I know we're right in the middle of 9th edition, came out in 2020. We're now just starting 2022. So we've been a full year to the summer, and then a year and a half now into it. And just bear with me on this. I'm going to show you some stuff. So let's just dive right in. Let's start talking about the various editions. Now, some of the earlier editions, of Rogue Trader all the way to 9th edition, they have the same copies of same covers, and I'm not going to get into the various different covers for the books, but we've seen a huge leap in, or shrinkage, I guess. Yeah, let's go with shrinkage in years that the rule books and the codexes are coming out. And the worst violators really started around 6th edition, and then 8th to 9th edition has just been absolutely horrible. I mean, Games Workshop should really be offended. Or maybe we should be held responsible because we're the ones that are buying. I don't know. I don't want to feel guilty, but we could be, consumers being the guilty ones. I'm not sure. Let's just leave that alone for now. All right, let's take a look at the release dates. This is important for what we're talking about here for Warhammer 40,000 and going into 10th edition. So Rogue Trader, which is what I started with in 1988, so it's almost been 34 years since I've been playing Warhammer 40,000 and being involved in the hobby. So that tells you that I'm just not, that doesn't make me like special or all around knowledgeable. It just shows you how long I've been in it, and I'm not just new onto the scene, especially if you're new to the channel, which if you're new to the channel, please, if that red subscribe button is, well, if it's red, click on it so it says subscribed and leave a comment. I would appreciate it. So, Rogue Trader, 1987. I started playing in 1988 with Harlequins. 2nd edition, 1993. So, that's a fairly good gap, 6 years. And that was a huge change in rules. Those first few editions were a huge change in rules. 5 years to 1998 for 3rd edition. Okay, not too bad. Now we're going to jump another, 6 years for 4th edition. So we're kind of maintaining a 5 to 6 year gap. And then 4th to 5th, 2004 to 2008. Now we're at a 4-year gap. 5th edition to 6th edition, 4-year gap coming out in 2012 for 6th edition. Yikes. Okay, this is our new standard. Let's go with this. Yay! And then we get 7th edition, which a lot of people still enjoy, especially you Horus Heresy players. God bless you for still using 7th edition rules. We're looking at 2012 to 2014, a 2-year gap. I was working at Games Workshop when this happened, and I was just like, say what? This is not right. This is definitely not right. So 7th edition, 2014, into 8th edition, 2017, we're at 3 years. So hey, we got a nice big gap there, 3 years. got an extra year-ish, or maybe half a year. If I remember correctly, um, it was either 6th edition or 7th edition came out early of that year, and then yeah, so we'll go with 3 years just to be generous for Games Workshop, because God bless them. 8th edition 2017 into 9th edition 2020, which was about a 3-year gap. Not too bad, not too good, but not too bad. And I could be wrong. For some reason, I want to say that that was 2019, but you know what? Why? Um, man, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was 2000. Yeah, it was definitely 2020. Okay, so 9th edition 2020 into 10th edition 2023? Uh, I don't know. And that's what we're talking about here. There's just very loose uh, kind of rumors going around, or speculative information is dropped. One from a very reliable source, the other one from a iffy. Well, definitely about 50%. Like I said, about 65% source. The other one was a definite reliable source of a future Codex release, but we're not there yet. But we're going to see it, and you'll probably know exactly which one it is when we get there. But we're getting there. Okay, so let's take a look at 9th edition codexes when they dropped. So now we're starting to narrow down what we're kind of the worst offenders, or how Games Workshop is really kind of screwing things over here. So let me back up real quick. So let me point out that the rule book, or the codexes, have changed in price over the years, around $30-$40 back in the Rogue Trader era, to 9th edition right now, which is a $60 rule book. $60 seems to be the going price for the rule book. $60 for, like, I think 350 some odd pages, maybe 400 pages worth of, well, about 100 pages worth of rules, and like maybe 100 pages of artwork and photographs, and then like 200 pages of lore. That's just kind of lore, like a couple pages of lore for each faction and history, blah 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 blah. We all know the lore. If not, then there's plenty of Wikipedia pages. Anyways, so right now we're paying $60 for a rule book. That's quite a bit. Now let's go back to this. 9th edition codexes are popping out at $50, when at first they used to be included in the main rule book back in Rogue Trader, I think all the way through 3rd edition, but there was like some supplementary books that you could get, kind of like the Space Marine supplement books you can get right now for 9th edition, as an example. So but you're still looking at when those books were coming out, $15 to $25, and now we're paying $50 for a rule book, or sorry, an army codex that is maybe a third the size of the core rule book, right? But we're paying almost the exact same price. There's some really whack math going on there, that we're paying $50 now for a rule book, and $60 for core rule book, and then an army rule book. Sorry, $110 just to play this game. So here we got Space Marines dropped with Necrons in October 2020. We see a lot of these other armies popping up between then and, well, now with Genestealer Cults and Adeptus Custodes being the most recent. We know that Eldar, or the Craft World, or Eldar Craft World, however they're going to call it, is right around the corner. Because if you've not been paying attention, there has been a lot of stuff popping up, just like on the screen right here, with the new bloody-handed god of the Eldar, Cain. So we know that he is coming real soon. We've also seen a lot of the other Eldar stuff. We know that there's a new box coming out with new Eldar Ranger type bikes, new Eldar Rangers, Warlocks, the work. So finally, and God bless you guys for putting up with it for so long, the Eldar players finally are getting new plastic Guardians, which don't look too different from the older Guardians. but there's, you got new models. Yay, plastic models. So lots of new plastic coming on the line. Will be the entire range? No idea, but maybe it will. We still need to see. They're probably going to bring back. Rumor is that they're going to bring back the Corsairs from the original Rogue Trader era, which would be really cool. Maybe combine it with the rules that came out in Imperial Armor 11 from Forge. Not sure. Not going to speculate on that. But let's get back to these codexes. So we have our various codexes coming down the line, and we know which ones are already out right now. So let's take a look, just real quick. Let's take a look at the gap, just so you guys can understand. Because I know there's some of you out there right now like, John, they just came out with 9th edition. They're not going to turn around and put out new books. They haven't even got all the codexes out yet. Really? You don't think that they're going to turn around? Let me just roll back this image here. Look at those time gaps. Right now we're at 1.5 years into 9th edition, guys and gals. We're coming up on just over a year and a half. Only another year and a half, and we'll probably summer 2023 is probably going to be 10th edition. So please keep that in mind when you are trying to express your doubt and disbelief. So 8th edition, 9th edition Codex changes, and this is another one of the foul things that Games Workshop has done in the past. So let's take a look at Space Marines. 8th edition, July 2017, they came out with 8th edition, which was an amazing, awesome box. I really loved it because we got the Primaris Marines, and they dropped the really, I have to say, really amazing Codex at that time. It was really good. I think it was still $40 at that time. Not a big deal because it was a bigger book. It was like 80 pages, or no, it was about 119 pages, something like that. And then they gave us a second Codex, which replaced that one in August of 2019. That was right before Las Vegas 2020. And so that's 2 years. Within 2 years, they gave us 2 codexes for 1 edition. Now that 2019 Space Marine Codex filled in for the 9th edition going into October 2020. So within 3 years, 4-ish, we got 3 codexes for Space Marines. So please keep that in mind when you're expressing your doubt and disbelief that they would do a quick turnaround, especially when they haven't released all their codexes. Because at this time, not all the codexes have been released, guys and gals. So remember that. Another one, just showing you some time gaps, Necrons, 2018 to 2020. Death Guard, 2017 to 21 is a bigger gap. Same thing, Drukhari, 2018 to 2021. Adeptus Sororitas, 2-year gap, 2019 to June 2021. Really? You just came out with it, and less than 2 years later, you're already cranking it out. Whatever. Chaos Space Marines, just like Space Marines, 2017, they had their first Codex drop for 8th edition. Then they got a reprint 2 years later in 2019. And since we've been starting to see a lot of Chaos stuff, more than likely they're going to drop between now and 4th quarter, which most people's 2nd quarter, it's 4th quarter for GW, so sometime ending in May, March, April, May. So there you should have your Chaos Space Marine Codex and your Eldar Codex at roughly the same time. Between, my guess is either 3rd quarter, so between now and February, probably I'm leaning more towards February going into March, so it'll be a 3rd, 4th quarter thing, and great sales for the end. Then we'll probably have a big AOS release going into the end of 4th quarter going into April, May. But we're not talking about that. So as you can see so far, there are huge gaps going on, or not huge gaps, no, not huge. Let's change our words, John. Small, short periods of time that Games Workshop seems to be releasing their books, and that time is getting shorter-ish. I think we're now at a nice stable 3 years. These books, especially your Codex and your core rulebook, that's $110, mind you, provided you don't get the whatever the big box is that'll come out every edition, like Indomitus and whatever the one was before, where you kind of get it not for free, but it's basically discounted because it's much cheaper to get those big boxes. Good marketing there, GW. So you're at $110 now, and you're changing that book every 3 years. And then, of course, you're buying all the new models. You're buying the new units or whatever the new meta is. And it's getting a little, I mean, are we at the point where we should be just calling it quits? I'm not saying ban Games Workshop. I'm bringing this up before we continue to highlight what Games Workshop's been doing. And not a lot of people really give it too much of a thought because they love their hobby. They love their, well, for tournament players, I think it's more, I mean, that's your aspect of the hobby. And I look at it more of a sport. But you guys are the ones that are constantly changing over the casual players. Now, mind you, the casual players make up the vast majority of customers and players. I know you tournament players don't like to hear that. You guys are the vocal minority, however. You help get a lot of rules changed and corrected. So we really appreciate that when you guys help us get stuff fixed. That's really amazing. However, you guys are the minority of players, but you guys are also constantly changing or buying new units for the metas and whatnot. So, I mean, at what point do you guys get tired of it, really? So, I've got another video that's going to be coming up later on today or tomorrow that's going to kind of capitalize on this. So make sure you hit that red subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, because we will be able to kind of go back on this subject and explore another option. Another option that lets you not only participate in what you're doing right now, but when the inevitability that financially or mentally you are just burnt out, we got you covered, because that's what we do here. All right, so we've got some codexes that are still outstanding. What is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 codexes. So you're like, John, gotcha. Dude, told you, man, they're not going to do a new edition. I'm not saying they're doing new edition right now, guys. I'm saying that a new edition is right around the corner. 2023, maybe 2024. I don't know yet. Do you? No. But there's some speculation. We'll go into just one little recent hint, maybe. I'm going to probably say that because I want to do a little bit more research and a little bit more follow-up. But 2022, what can we expect? I would say definitely Chaos Space Marines and Craft World Eldar. We've seen way too much. They are probably the next two that are going to drop. Summertime, I would say Tau Empire, since we've been seeing a lot more of them. Late spring, early summer is what I would say. They could be on the heels back to back to back. Games Workshop might change things up and go, you know what, we're going to crank out all the remaining 9th edition codexes within a year and a half. Just in time for 10th edition. Ha, 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 ha. I'm kidding on that part. Or maybe just pulling the Simpsons here and predicting the future ahead of time. Interesting. So the other ones, we know Tau, like I said, Tau Empire, we've been seeing way too many images, way too many rules. They're going to drop soon. Now, what's the order of the droppage? Is it going to be Craft World Space Marines and then Tau, or Tau, then Craft Worlds and Chaos Space Marines? Not sure yet. Not sure yet. With all the global pandemic going on, horrible shipping and getting all your doodads and everything from China to the UK to the US and whatnot, we're everything's kind of up in the air. Those three, I would say, are 90% coming out the first half of this year. The second half, I would say, is going to belong to Age of Sigmar, smaller games, and Tyranids. We've been seeing a lot of images on Tyranids. on their rumor mill, and that's usually an indication that they, within about 9 months, um, 6 to 9 months, that we are going to see them. So I really predict that we're going to see them very, very soon. Probably second half of the year, probably October time frame, which also could be leading into Astromilitarum. Now, Astromilitarum and Chaos Demons, Harlequins, I bet you they'll be next year. Late this year, going into next year. They don't need much. They just kind of filled the gap for Astromilitarum by giving their very old Cadian shock troop models an upgrade sprue in the box, increasing the price, but also you got more head options, you got more weapon options. They made that box very viable, even with a slight increase. I think it's up to $60 now, which is okay, because now that box is really, it's a good box. It's a very solid box to get for your troops. Outdated models, but still a solid box to get. So they don't need a lot. Technically, they've got a relatively new Lehman Russ model kit, all sorts of new things like the Manticores and the Hydra tanks. A lot of stuff has been updated, really cool stuff. I can see some Rough Riders in the future. They had those new Ogrins a few years ago, so they probably don't need a lot of new models. Chaos Demons have been pretty stagnant model-wise since about, what, 6th, 7th edition? Maybe a little bit of 5th, I believe, but definitely 6th, 7th edition time frame. We might see some new models, but not necessarily anything really big. Because as Age of Sigmar comes out with new models, Chaos Demons can also use those in Warhammer 40,000. So I'm not going to worry about them. They can just crank, probably those two books, Chaos Demons and Astromilitarum, can crank out a book, some data cards, and maybe a new character model, pat them on the butt, kick them out the door. Easy. Same thing with Harlequins. Give them a new book, give them some data cards, and maybe a new type of model, maybe a special character, pat them on the butt, get them out the door. Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights, same thing, but they'll probably come out with, I'm predicting, besides a new Codex and a set of data cards, probably some dice, overpriced dice, that they'll probably, I can't really see them unless they give them some new unit types. Like there are those types of tech priests that they both use, and maybe some infantry, just a small infantry unit. They're not too strong, not too weak. Well, probably very, they're probably like guardsman level of sustainability, or viability. But I could see them like household guard or something like that coming along, and maybe for objective capturing. It's a possibility, but I don't see you needing too much. Maybe a big upgrade box for the big knights and the little knights. Not sure, but they don't require much. So the big ones are going to be Chaos Space Marines, Tau Empire, not even really Tau Empire, sorry. Let's walk that back. Chaos Space Marines and Craft Worlds are going to get the biggest model releases this edition, from this point in the year going forward. Tyranids, I don't think they're going to get a lot of model changes. They're just going to get some newer models. Probably replace the Gene Stealers, maybe, and probably some new evolved forms that they just want to replace the models for. Nothing really major. I doubt they're going to replace the entire line when it's still viable. They'll probably wait till 10th edition to replace like the Gaunts, the Hormagaunts or the Termagants, and a few of the other models. But by far and large, they don't need a replacement. And Tau Empire doesn't necessarily need a replacement. I am slightly off track. Let's walk it back. So taking all this into consideration, and with that gorgeous looking avatar of Kane right there, I think it looks really good. Definitely better than the Forge World one, and way better than any of the other Games Workshop ones. Took them long enough, but still really awesome. So, is it time to quit 9th edition or quit Warhammer 40,000? I don't think so. I think, and this is what I'm going to be doing a video on, and I think you guys will like this financial breakdown. And I've got one of those videos right now on Havoc Maker Studio. There's going to be a similar follow-up to that one, and then a new video that's going to piggyback this one. So you know what, just watch the entire series and you'll be good. So I don't think it's time to quit unless you're just fed up, and then you quit whenever you want. And if you enjoyed this game still, and you're okay forking out the money every 3 years to be able to play your game again and again and again, then stay with it. I'm not advocating for you to quit. I'm advocating for you to start looking at some other options. And is enough enough? And also, is 10th edition right around the corner? Yes. Yes, 10th edition is around the corner, guys. Whether it's a year and a half or 2.5 years, it's around the corner. They make way too much money off the books and off you running out to buy the new hotness that goes along with those books. Those units that are like, oh my gosh, I gotta have this unit that I did not use in the previous edition, but now I am because they're really amazing in this new edition. Which comes back to an earlier video and some comments on Facebook where I mentioned that Games Workshop utilizes these codexes and data sheets in those Warzone books. And this is another way that they're open to it, and you don't have to do this, so it's not dirty or illegal, but it's dirty. It's not illegal, but it's dirty. That they come out with these books with data sheets or regiments of renown or veteran units, whatever the new terminology is. And I would never use that model, but that regiment of renown is amazing. I need that. So we're going to buy up all those models that go along with that and that book and use it for this edition that's going to last maybe another year and a half, 2.5 years. 7th edition was the worst one. Now, there's definitely, and I totally understand this, Games Workshop employees, you cannot tell me or tell us that, hey, you're right, John, that's what we do. You're not going to tell us that, because more likely, especially if you're a store manager, you're definitely don't know. They're not going to tell you. And those of you in the know, maybe you're ahead of some global department, you probably know that, or you can at least put 2 and 2 together. I get it, you can't admit it, but they put out these codexes and these new rules, really the new rules, and they make certain units hot as F. And they do that so you'll buy it. 7th edition was the worst offender, and that 7th edition is what kicked off, I think, this firestorm, or almost fire sale in a way, loosely, of Games Workshop cranking out edition after edition after edition and making certain units choice units so they can move them off the shelf. And then they dumb them back down after a chapter approved or two and make other ones viable. It's like, oh, we're not selling these. Oh, guess what? Biovores are the new hotness. And now they're 50 points cheaper. I don't know how many points they are. And now people take them. Oh, nobody wants to play Firstborn Marines. They're all taking their Primaris Marines. Well, how do we do that? Oh, let's give all the Firstborn Marines, let's make them basically the equal of Primaris Marines. And then you start selling down all that Firstborn Marine stuff. Oh my gosh. So please, I get it, you don't have to admit it, and you might have to downplay it, but yeah. Oh well. I'm not going to get into it. Is it time to quit? For this guy, I'm very, very close. I mean, I haven't bought anything in a while, and there's way too many other games out there that bring me joy in my life, financially and mentally, and hobbying wise. I think it's a consideration. I don't think we have to ban it, but it might be time to start looking at having an alternative just prepped and ready to go. Maybe play it once in a while, but we'll talk about that next video. Anyways, you guys have yourself a wonderful Thursday, and I will talk to you later on today. See you guys later.